you know much about what's going into your body when you drink beer, wine, or liquor? And how to keep track of how much alcohol you or a guest has consumed? Let's find out. All alcoholic drinks are not equal. Different alcoholic drinks contain different levels of alcohol, but knowing how much alcohol is in a drink is easy to understand. Have you heard the words proof or ABV, which means alcohol by volume, before? These are measures of how much alcohol is contained in a drink and will be written on the bottle or can. ABV is written as a percentage, while proof is a number. A simple example. A bottle of wine that has an ABV of 22% means 22% of that drink by volume is alcohol. Pretty simple. Proof is slightly different. It's expressed by a number such as 80 proof, but in order to understand how much alcohol there is by volume or ABV, you need to divide the proof by 2 to determine its ABV. In this case, it would be 40%. That's 80 divided by 2. With a proof or ABV, the higher the number, the stronger the drink. Every drink varies in the amount of alcohol it contains. Generally speaking, beer, according to the Alcohol Research Group of the Public Health Institute, has an average alcohol by volume of 4.5%. But ABV can be higher in many beers, especially craft beers, which are often much stronger. A typical bottle of wine has an average 11.6%. It's not uncommon for wine's ABV to be much higher. I've seen wines with an ABV of 15%, so it's always good to check how strong a wine is before you sell or serve it. Liquors or distilled spirits, like vodka, gin, whiskey, etc., have the most alcohol by volume. On average, the ABV for liquors is 37%. That's pretty high. It's common sense that the more alcohol volume that is contained in your beverage, the faster it will get a person intoxicated. That's why someone doing shots of spirits is likely to get intoxicated faster than someone drinking a beer. It's a similar amount of alcohol, but you're drinking one much faster. Keeping track of how much alcohol is consumed can be a challenge for several reasons. Different drinks contain different amounts of alcohol by volume. Alcohol is served in different sized glasses, bottles, or cans that are not representative of their ABV. Remember the shot versus the beer from earlier. Cocktails can contain a few different types and strengths of alcohol that are mixed together. That's why counting the number of glasses, bottles, or cans that are consumed by a customer is not an effective way of tracking how much alcohol has been consumed. A more effective method to keep track is to count what we call standard drinks, or units, depending on where you are in the world. A standard drink or unit is simply a unit of measurement for alcohol consumed, in the same way that 1 mile or 1 kilometer is a measure of distance. The definition of a standard drink or unit can be different across countries. In the United States, for example, one standard drink is defined as any beverage containing 0.6 fluid ounces or 14 grams of pure alcohol, which is found in 12 ounces of regular beer, usually about 5% alcohol by volume, 5 ounces of wine, typically about 12% alcohol by volume, and 1.5 ounces of distilled spirits, which is about 40% alcohol by volume. Although the standard drink amounts are helpful guidelines, they may not reflect customary serving sizes. Sometimes one standard drink might be the same as a serving of alcohol, but often they'll be different, so don't get them confused. A glass of wine you serve in your bar could contain more than one standard drink. And to wrap up, remember, differing types of alcohol are not equal. Proof and alcohol by volume, or ABV, are measures of how much alcohol is contained in a drink and will be written on the bottle or can. The higher the ABV or proof, the more alcohol it contains and the faster a person will become intoxicated by consuming it. Beer has an average alcohol by volume of 4.5%. Wine has an average of 11.6%. Liquors or distilled spirits have the most alcohol by volume with an average of 37%. And a standard drink is the best way to keep track of alcohol consumption. Trust me, you're going to hear all kinds of crazy ideas from people, including your guests, about what they're going to do to sober themselves up. Providing safe alcohol service and to responsibly sell alcohol, you'll need to know which methods are proven effective and which ones to ignore. Let's look at how alcohol leaves a person's body and bloodstream. Once alcohol is in a person's body, it's going to stay there until their liver has been able to break it down. This normally takes about 1 hour per standard drink, but that's an average, and everyone will be different, especially considering the factors we discussed in the last lesson concerning a person's body weight, size, sex, and the other items we spoke about. Different bodies will process alcohol at different speeds. Just to clarify, that's not 1 hour from when the person consumes the drink or drinks, that's 1 hour per standard drink. If they drank 3 standard drinks, as we spoke about previously, in the space of 30 minutes, then drink nothing else, it will still take a total of 3 hours for those drinks to leave their system. Is there anything you can do to speed this up and get it out of your system quicker? Let's find out what your industry colleagues think.
I think when you want to sober yourself up, you really just should have a lot of water. So even if you're drinking different drinks, having water in between really does help.
Make sure you're eating while you're drinking.
I think I'd take a cold shower. I think it'll give me an energy boost and sober me up.
Have a greasy meal and also a sports drink filled with electrolytes.
Water to hydrate myself, and especially warm lime water, which is very good to sober up.
Myths, all myths. Not one of those will help or speed up the processing of alcohol out of a person's body once it's been absorbed into their bloodstream. And while eating food before or at the same time as drinking can slow down the rate at which the alcohol is absorbed into the blood, it's still going to be absorbed. Vomiting only has an effect if the alcohol has not yet passed through the stomach and into the small intestine, but that happens quickly. Coffee, energy drinks, or cold showers might give you an energy boost, but they're not going to sober a person up or speed up the processing of the alcohol in the body. Drinking water, it might keep the person hydrated, but it won't remove alcohol from your system faster. The hard truth is, once a person has consumed alcohol, the only thing that will get it out of their system is time. Have I just debunked any of the myths you thought were true about sobering up? Here's a quick exercise for you. A guest consumes 4 glasses of wine in 90 minutes. Each glass contains 1.5 standard drinks. How long will it take for an average person to break down this amount of alcohol? The correct answer is 6. 6 hours to eliminate the alcohol from their system. And don't forget, once alcohol is in the bloodstream, the only thing that will get it out is time. It normally takes the liver around 1 hour to break down each standard drink consumed, and there are no quick fixes to sober up. There's a very serious side to your role in protecting yourself, your venue, and the community regarding the sale and service of alcohol. If someone is showing signs of being intoxicated or drunk, then it is your responsibility not to sell or serve them alcohol. In many places, that's not just a rule, it is in fact the law. It is possible that an intoxicated guest may also be asked to leave the venue. It's therefore really important you know how to determine if someone is affected by alcohol and signs of intoxication that you can look out for. Let's go through them in this lesson. As a person drinks alcohol and their blood alcohol levels rise, they're becoming intoxicated. As this happens, there might be some noticeable changes to their coordination, appearance, speech, and behavior. In doing some research for this lesson, I came across a YouTube clip where an intoxicated person is trying to order 4 drinks from the DJ booth. They're completely unaware that it's not the bar. Their speech was slurred, you can barely understand what they're saying, their eyes are half closed, and most importantly, they were obviously disoriented, trying to order cocktails from the DJ. This person is showing some pretty clear signs of being intoxicated. Of course, as you have learned, not everyone is affected in the same way at the same level across the same period of time based on many factors. Not everyone will show the same signs when they're intoxicated, and the way they display these signs may be to different degrees or seem as obvious to an observer. Let's look at a list of common physical and mental impairments that result from being intoxicated. We will dive a little deeper into some of the most common impairments right after. If you've been around people who are intoxicated before, most of these won't come as a surprise to you, but some of them might. They can include loss of inhibition of normal social functioning, euphoria, which could include excessive talking or showing off, ataxia, which is abnormal, unbalanced, or uncoordinated movements, such as unsteady walking, poor judgment, loss of memory, slurred speech, vomiting, confusion and disorientation, becoming lethargic, and ultimately the shutdown of the respiratory centers and death. People often become a bit louder, a bit more confident and chattier when intoxicated. Some people drink specifically for this effect. They feel more outgoing. Their inhibitions have been diminished and can also become more flirtatious or even begin to make inappropriate comments, jokes, or advances, perhaps start pestering other guests or annoying the staff. Some guest behavior may become rude, aggressive, offensive, or argumentative as a result of being intoxicated. I've known of guests falling asleep at tables too. Yeah, really. Watch out for changes in their drinking behavior, such as starting to drink faster or ordering different types of alcoholic drinks. That's another red flag of becoming intoxicated. Ataxia might be a new word for you. It was for me. Basically, ataxia is an abnormal, unbalanced, or uncoordinated movement, like staggering while walking. An intoxicated guest might struggle to walk or stand up straight. They might be observed bumping into things like tables, chairs, objects, or even other people. Someone who's experiencing ataxia from being intoxicated may lose their coordination and may fall, fumble to perform a common task such as lighting a cigarette, have difficulty handling or counting money or paying their bill, or struggle to open doors. They might spill or drop their drink or knock glasses off a table. People who are intoxicated often display poor judgment. They may do things like severely overtip, say inappropriate or offensive things, or pick a fight with the biggest man in the venue, just generally displaying a lack of good judgment that a sober person would possess. Often, intoxicated people forget or find it hard to remember things like where they place their drink, or put their keys, or their friend's name. These are all signs to look for. Listen out for the way guests are speaking. If your conversation with them involves them slurring their words while trying to order, or talking with you, rambling on, or are just a bit muddled in what they're saying, these are all signs of intoxication. Now you know some of the key signs of intoxication to look out for. Let's go into some of these in more detail. It's easier to assess if a guest is intoxicated if you're in a situation where you get to see or interact with them over a good period of time. As you know, the amount and types of alcohol they've consumed, the period of time it was over, and if they've changed as they consume alcohol are all factors. You'll be able to make a better judgment call about whether the signs they're showing are the result of the alcohol they've consumed or not. The more a person drinks, the more their BAC increases, the more signs they're likely to exhibit. You'll always need to use a degree of judgment to decide if a person is intoxicated or approaching the point of becoming intoxicated. It is important to note that some of the behaviours we've discussed can be brought on by other things like medical conditions, disabilities, exhaustion, or other conditions. Be careful and thoughtful in your judgment. Just because someone is being loud, unbalanced, or spills a drink doesn't necessarily mean they're intoxicated. Next time you're out at a bar or restaurant, I want you to take note of a guest who's drinking alcohol. See if you can notice any changes in their coordination, speech, or behaviour over the time that you're there, even if those changes are small and subtle. And remember, intoxication can cause noticeable changes to a person's inhibitions, behaviour, coordination, judgment, memory, and speech. The more a guest drinks, the more signs they will display. And people can exhibit these signs without having had a single drink. So take care to look for changes in behaviour and try to establish if there are other causes before concluding that a guest is intoxicated. Refusing to sell or serve alcohol to an intoxicated guest can be difficult. Trust me, I've been there, and I know it's an interaction you probably want to avoid. But it's something you need to be able to handle in your role. Not doing so could have serious consequences for the business and for you. So this is a conversation that you need to get comfortable with. I'm going to take you through my best practice for how to do this, which will hopefully make it easier if you ever need to do it. The first thing you need to know is that no one who's intoxicated wants to be told they're not going to be served or that you're not going to sell them alcohol. It can be embarrassing, especially if they're with family, friends, colleagues, or even worse, on a date. Approach the customer that appears to be intoxicated as soon as possible. The first step is to create a safe environment for the guest that will minimize the risk of the guest feeling targeted or embarrassed, which often causes people to react in an irrational, argumentative, or aggressive way. If the guest is with other people, pull them aside to a more private spot if you can. Make every attempt to make the conversation private. Keep a low volume to your voice, step a little closer to the individual, and that way it's harder for other people to overhear the conversation, and they can tell that you're not trying to embarrass them. Keep your body language open and non-aggressive. You want to avoid doing things like pointing, crossing your arms, or putting your hands on your hips. These are quite confrontational, and your goal is to avoid a confrontation. Remain calm and use your normal but firm tone of voice throughout. Remember, you're a professional. Even if they get agitated or aggressive, always speak in a friendly and respectful manner. And this is an obvious one, but never judge or threaten the guest. This will only make them upset. Similar to handling complaints, refusing service to an intoxicated guest should always be done professionally and respectfully. In an ideal world, the perfect refusal of service shouldn't even be noticed by other guests. Okay, so what should you say? If you've not interacted with the guest previously, start by introducing yourself. Then clearly and politely let them know that you are legally not allowed to supply them any more alcohol. State the law that is applicable and refer to any signage nearby to assist. Be empathetic. Let them know that you'd love to see them back another time and that you'll be able to serve them then. However, right now you cannot. If you're in a food service environment and the guest is allowed to remain in the venue, you can offer them non-alcoholic beverage alternatives such as water or soft drinks. You can also offer food, as I've talked about in previous lessons. If the guest is allowed to remain in the venue, you'll need to continue to observe them to ensure the situation doesn't escalate or that they try to enlist someone else to buy them alcohol. You'll get lots of people that will try to convince you that they're sober or that they can quickly sober up. Stick to your decision. You've already made the call that they shouldn't be served, and if you've watched my lesson about techniques for sobering up, you know there's no quick way to sober up. If they start to argue with you or get upset, you can let them know it's not a personal decision, but you're legally not allowed to serve them, and doing so could get you in a lot of trouble or you could even lose your job. If you can, point to any signage on display that will help show them the rules. If you need to, you can always try to enlist the help of one of their sober friends, and if that's not an option, call in a manager to help if you feel you need backup. In a situation when you refuse service to an intoxicated guest, you should always keep in mind that the person is intoxicated and that their brain is affected. This means that they are less inhibited, can become angry quicker, and are saying things that they normally would not say if they were not intoxicated. The person may also have difficulty understanding what you are saying to them due to their level of intoxication. So it's important that you speak clearly and slowly so that they can understand. This may also include stating the same sentence numerous times. Refusing a customer service due to their intoxication levels is something that can take you time with which to become comfortable. Therefore, if you feel unable to handle the situation, you should ask someone with more experience, such as a colleague or manager, to assist you so that you are able to learn how to deal with the situation. The last thing that you need to do is to inform your colleagues and manager that you've refused this guest service due to their intoxication levels, so that everyone knows who they are and that they're not to be served. And if they need to be escorted from the venue, your manager can coordinate this with security. There are 3 key things to take away from this lesson. Refusing the sale or service of alcohol to a guest can be difficult, but it's a critical part of responsible, safe alcohol service. It should always be done professionally and respectfully, and minimize the chances of the conversation becoming an argument by remaining calm and keeping your body language neutral. This lesson is all about furthering your skills as a responsible server or seller of alcohol. The points that I'm going to share with you are must-dos. If you're serving or selling alcohol, you have a duty to serve it responsibly, with the safety of your guests and community at the top of your mind always. And this means taking steps to ensure your guests don't become intoxicated. If you're working as a bartender, server, or manager in a restaurant, bar, or service setting, the first responsibility you have is to perform your job duties in a safe way. Always follow these simple rules. Never free pour. Always use a portion control device, such as a jigger or electronic spout, when making drinks. Abide by last call or alcohol purchase cutoff times, and follow rules your venue has in place for how many drinks can be served to a guest at one time. The second responsibility you have is to always be aware of what's happening around you, with your guests and their drinking patterns. This is an important responsibility. Interacting with and observing your guests who are consuming alcohol and identifying those who may be doing so irresponsibly or erratically can prevent them from becoming intoxicated. The sooner you notice this behavior, the sooner you can intervene. Some of the key patterns to watch out for are guests that ask for shots, shooters, or any kind of drink that's designed to be drunk quickly. This is a definite warning sign. People generally drink these drinks with the intention of becoming intoxicated faster, so keep an eye out, especially if they order more than once. The same goes for people ordering drinks like doubles and cocktails that are all alcohol. These types of drinks get more alcohol into a person's body faster. Therefore, people that have these behaviors are going to become intoxicated more quickly. Even if a guest is drinking a typical drink, bottle of beer or glass of wine, if they are drinking it faster than normal and quickly ask for another or order multiple drinks for themselves at the same time, this behavior is irresponsible. If you can observe these behaviors early on, you'll be in a better position to manage these guests before it gets to the point where they're intoxicated and can no longer be served alcohol or may be asked to leave your venue. There are also some general service tips you can follow for all guests when you notice these behaviors starting. Number 1 is to make guests alternative offers. Suggest alternatives such as non-alcoholic drinks, including virgin drinks, soft drinks, or water. The other easy thing to do is to give guests a glass of water without waiting for them to ask for it. This can slow down their alcohol drinking as well as keeping them hydrated. Recommend food, which will mildly slow down the rate that alcohol is absorbed into the bloodstream. You can also suggest that the guest slows down. When I've had a guest that I can tell is going a bit hard and it might get to the point that I need to refuse them service later on, I try and get in there before it gets to that point. I might say something like, "I really want to make sure you have a great night. How about a short break from the wine or beer or cocktails and have something to eat and a soft drink, and then in about an hour I can serve you another drink." I found that normally this is received quite well and the guest takes it as friendly advice. Number 2, slow down your alcohol service. If you're observing guest behaviors that might indicate they could be headed for intoxication, you can intentionally slow down service. You can wait until glasses are near or even completely empty before refilling or asking if the guest would like another drink. Never refill someone's glass without asking them. The guest must always be in control of what they're consuming. Number 3 is make sure you honor any restrictions your venue has in place for purchasing alcohol. Common restrictions can further limit the number or types of drinks a person can buy at one time, the times that alcohol can be served, or other restrictions that are techniques designed to slow down drinking. Whatever the rules are where you're working, make sure you follow them. I want you to think back on your experiences in serving alcohol or being around alcohol service. Have you used any of these tips or seen them used? Did they have the intended effect of slowing down alcohol consumption? So your top takeaways from this lesson are: always interact and observe your guests and their drinking patterns. You have a responsibility to perform your job in a responsible manner. And offering alternatives to alcohol, slowing down service, and following venue service rules are ways to prevent guests from becoming intoxicated. Congratulations! Really well done finishing this course on alcohol awareness. You're now prepared to sell and serve alcohol to your guests, armed with the knowledge of how to do this safely and responsibly and in line with the law. And you're equipped to make great decisions and handle situations that might come your way regarding the sale and service of alcohol. You know that there are laws and legislation governing how alcohol can be served, and that you need to know what these are in your local area. You understand what happens when we drink alcohol, and that there are no quick ways for sobering up. And you're able to detect and prevent minors from being served alcohol, know how to recognize the signs of intoxication, and a process for refusing service. You've learned a lot. Remember, selling and serving alcohol comes with great responsibility, but following what you've learned in this course will not only make your work life easier, it'll help make your workplace and community safer too. Your knowledge will help you in providing a better level of service to your guests, and most importantly, help you avoid any of the consequences or penalties that can come from not serving alcohol responsibly. Now, go out there and be great.